my name's Mary Holland, and I'm the director of the Virginia Museum Studio School, where I also teach printmaking. And today we're going to do a cool experimental type of printmaking called Gelli Plate printing. And it's pretty straightforward. It's making monotypes, which are one-of-a-kind prints, with a Gelli plate. And these come in all different sizes, and you can get all kinds of beautiful effects without a printmaking press. So it's something you can do at home. I'm just going to show you a few examples of prints. These are prints that are just one pass with the Gelli plate. They're one color. This was made with fingerprints. This was made with a little wooden stencil. This is another print that was made with an egg-shaped Gelli plate, just printed over each other. And you can see that you get a lot of transparency using this method. Here's another print using the top of a jar just to make an impression. You can also do more realistic images using your Gelli plate and collage. And here's another print using just Gelli plate printing. All right, so we're getting started to print Gelli plates. And what I've done is I've placed two of my Gelli plates on a piece of plexiglass just to keep them structured. And I have two sizes here. I have a round 8-inch size, and I have an 8x10 rectangle. And those are my favorite sizes. You can get much smaller plates, you can get some larger plates, but these I think work really well for most studio situations. So I just want them to be stable, and that's why they're on this plexi, and it's easy cleanup too. So I have a few items here. I have a spray bottle with water and paper towels, and I also have baby wipes. And the great thing about Gelli plates is that you really don't have to clean them between printing if you're using the same color. So it's pretty straightforward. I also have a soft rubber brayer, a couple of those, and I have my tools to make marks, and I also have a block here to make some impressions in there. Also, it's great to use acrylic paints when you're making your Gelli plates. They're fairly inexpensive. You can do craft paints, you can do nice higher end like golden acrylics, which is what I use. I also use this satin glazing liquid, which makes things more transparent, that I really like. And as far as papers go, I would say lightweight papers are the best. Cardstock works really well. Sketchbook paper works great. You can even use things like printed music or different pre-printed things. As long as they're not glossy, they'll work pretty well. So we're going to begin by just putting our paint on the Gelli plate, making some marks, and then pulling an impression. So I'm going to start with the round plate. And I have a magenta color here. I'm going to put a little dot down. You don't need a lot. A lot of people put way too much, and it doesn't work well if you do that. I'm going to put a few drops of this liquid, satin glazing liquid. So I take my knife here. It's plastic, so I don't hurt the surface of the Gelli plate. The surface is kind of fragile, so you want to make sure that you are careful with it and treat it well so you don't get any cracks or dents in it. So I've spread that out, and now I'm going to take my brayer, my soft rubber brayer, and I'm just going to roll it out and try to get it pretty consistent. And it looks like I have enough paint down here to actually roll onto my other Gelli plate. You don't have to do two at a time. You can just do one, of course, but I think it's kind of fun to get two going. All right, we have things rolled out. I'm going to move these inky pieces off here, so I'm going to get my clean paper going. First thing I'm going to do is I have to figure out what kind of image I want to make with my jelly plate. And I'm going to do something really simple. I'm going to take a potato masher, which I found in an old kitchen drawer, and I'm just going to use it. It's soft on the ends, so it's not going to cut into the plate. And I'm just going to make a kind of an interesting pattern with that. And the great thing about jelly plates is, you know, if you don't like what you get the first time, you can always print over it. It's not a big deal. So that's that. That's pretty simple. I'm going to take my paper and I'm just going to put it over my jelly plate carefully, and then I'm just going to rub it with my hand. And there you go. You have a neat jelly plate. And then you just let that dry, and then it's ready to be printed over again. I'm going to now do a second impression. This is called a ghost print or a cognate print, and it means it's in monotype. It's in that type of printmaking. But frequently with the plate, you have enough ink or paint left on there to get a second print. And sometimes the second print I like even better, and it's especially good if you're doing layering because it's more subtle. So, and I'm going to use another, this is a piece of sketchbook paper, tinted. It's kind of a golden buff color, and I'm just going to put that on top of there and pull the second print. And again, I'm just using my hand to rub it. You don't need to rub it really hard. It releases very easily. And there you go. You see you've got your second print, and it's very similar to the first. It's just lighter, and I think I prefer it. Okay, I'm going to go on to this other rectangular print plate that I've rolled out, and I'm going to do some stamping on it. This is a wooden stamp that I got at a junk sale, and it was for printing fabric. I have a number of these, and they're great for using on the plates. You get a cool impression, but they don't cut it. They don't hurt it in any way. So I'm just going to do some printing, placing the printing block down on the plate and pulling it up. All right, so I've covered most of the space, and I could also use this and print it onto another piece of paper if I had one ready. And then I'm going to make another print from this plate. And there we go. You can see how interesting that is. It'd be cool for borders. You could do borders. You could do some sort of book art with these. You could use them for book covers. You could use them for decorative papers for making collages. And here I'm getting my ghost print, my second printing from the same plate. And you'll see it looks fairly different on the blue paper, and it's more subtle again. So there we are. We have 4 prints now. Okay, so now we're going to do some printing using these wonderful little tiny jelly plate prints that are in different shapes. And I find that these are really a lot of fun to use. And you can stamp them on the plate that you have rolled out, but then you can actually stamp them directly onto paper as well, or over other jelly prints that you already have printed. So I'm switching colors. We're going to use a Prussian blue, which is pretty dark. And I've put my satin glazing liquid down again, and I am just mixing them on top of the plate till they're sort of a consistent texture. And I am going to roll it out again. Remember to keep it pretty thin. A lot of people who paint on a regular basis like to put a lot of paint down, and that just makes it kind of a big mess. So remember to keep it pretty thin, and you want to get it nice and even. So I would go ahead and roll your brayer in both directions. Okay, that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is just choose my shape. This is a new plate I haven't used yet, so I'm going to print with that, I'm going to place it on my Gelli plate that's all rolled up with my paint, and then I'm going to pull it off. And then I'm going to actually stamp it on this piece of clean paper. Not perfect, but pretty good. I can always print over it. And I'm going to continue stamping and printing on my sheet of white paper. All right, and last but not least, I'm going to switch to a little diamond shape. I have two, I have a big one and a small one, and I'm just going to press that into my rolled up Gelli plate, and then I'm going to transfer it to this clean piece of paper. All right, I'm going to clean my hands with a baby wipe. I want to keep them clean when I'm using clean sheets of paper. And then I'm going to select a nice piece of purple cardstock, and I'm just going to put that down on there and rub on the back. Pull that up. It's fairly dark, but I can work over it with another lighter color, and once that's dry I can do that. I'm going to get my second impression, my ghost print again, and I'm going to do that on a bright yellow paper, and I think that'll look pretty good, and you'll see the image a little better. Yes, you can really see the yellow coming through. So here's that image. You can see it's much lighter. And my final print I'm going to make is using a product that was designed, I think, for clay, working with clay, and it's a piece of rubber and it's got a pattern in it. So I'm going to, again, roll up my Gelli plate with my ink. And I still have a fair amount, although I think I'm going to have to put a bit more on here. Just a little squirt. If you don't want to invest in good quality or higher quality acrylic paints, you know, craft shops have little bottles of paint. I've tried all different kinds of things. You can use glitter paint, you can use all kinds of, just make sure it's acrylic, not oil. And it cleans up really well. And you do need to clean your plate at the end of your printing session. You don't want it to dry on your plate. I mean, I think it would release it, but it's better just to make sure you clean everything up, your brayer and your plate and anything that might have the paint on it. I wouldn't try to use watercolor with this. I don't think it would work very well. I think acrylic paint is the best material to use, best medium. All right, here we go. I have a good, solid, rolled up plate, and I'm going to take my little rubber pattern, and I'm just going to press that in. I'm going to carefully pull that up. I could print this on top of a piece of paper. I think I'll try to do that. But first, I'm going to show you what we have on the plate. Voila. You can see you have a really interesting pattern, and you can use that again in a lot of different ways. Now I'm going to print my ghost print on a darker piece of paper. This is a piece of charcoal paper, and they come in a lot of nice tones. I would experiment with the paper. You can really try a lot of different things. Some people like to use deli paper. You could use brown craft paper. I just wouldn't use anything too thick, and don't use anything glossy. It will stick to the plate. So this one is a good impression as well. You can see it looks very different than the yellow on the dark gray. So I guess you have an idea now of what you can do with this Gelli plate. It sort of the sky's the limit. If you don't like what you get, let it dry and print over it, and have fun. I would like to recommend a book. It's called Gelli Plate Printing, and it sort of gives a lot of examples of how to make prints and how to make collages using the prints, different technical advice, and then in the back it has different artists who have used Gelli plates. So it's a good resource if you want to get into printing Gelli plates. So I would say have fun, experiment, and thanks for listening. Take care.